Okay, so now that you measured the circumference of your circles, which is the outside, you measured the diameter, now we're going to talk about what really that relationship means and hopefully understanding it a little bit more. So, what I'm going to do is I have a few objects from around my house that we're going to actually learn about the specific ratio and then what that means in math terms. So I have this plastic cup and I'm going to measure the circumference and I'm going to measure the diameter. So here's my measuring tape, and this stuff does not work very well on super round objects. And I got 12 inches for the circumference. So 12 inches. So for a cup, why did I do that? So for a cup, it was 12 inches for the circumference. Okay, so now I'm going to measure the diameter. So from one end of the cup to the other end of the cup. Where'd the cup go? Okay, so I pick a spot and go straight across to the other spot. And that gives me a little less than 4. So if I go 3 3/4, so 3 3/4 inches for the diameter. So now we're really going to take a look at the relationship between the circumference to the diameter and what that means. So can the diameter make the circumference? So a diameter is one of the lengths, basically, of the circle. It's from one end to the other. So every single circle has this type of ratio, and the old math guys were able to figure it out, and then so they came up with a very special number, which we're going to kind of find out. So now, in order to find this relationship, it is a proportion. So I'm going to take my total and divide it by my part. So I have 12, and I'm going to divide that by 3 3/4. So you're going to use your handy dandy calculator, and we have 12 divided by 3.75, and I got 3.2. Okay, so that is for my cup. Now I'm going to measure the circumference and the diameter of a piece of tape. So again, I'm going to do it in inches. Since I started with inches, I'm going to just do all of them with inches. Nope, that's not inches. So again, circumference is all the way around. And on the tape, I get 10 1/4. Circumference is 10.25. And then my diameter, as that drops, I'm going to leave it on the floor now. My diameter for this is 3 1/4. So 3.25. My goodness. Okay. So my diameter is also 3.25. So now I'm going to take this number and I'm going to divide the whole by the part. So I'm going to divide the circumference by the diameter. So 10.25 divided by 3.25. And let's see what number that gets us. So I have 3.153846 blah 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 blah. Awesome. Now I'm going to do a bowl. So I have my little girl's bowl. The top is kind of wiggly, but we're gonna see how well I can do with that. So wrap it around the bowl as best as I can, and 16 3/8. So the bowl for the circumference, it's 16 3/8. And then diameter is 5 3/8. So, again, I'm going to divide the circumference by the diameter and see if there is a ratio. So 16 3/8. Let's just go 16.25. It's close enough. Divided by 5.25. And we get 3.095 blah 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 blah. It kind of goes on and on and on and on. So now I have a bowl, I have a tape, and I have a cup. So as you can see, we have 3.2, 3.15, and 3.1 if I round. So I want to get the average of all of those. And how do you get the average? Is you add them all up and then divide by how many there are. So I have 3.2 plus 3.15 plus 3.09. Divide that by 3. And I get 3.14. 6. But still I get the average of 3.14. Now, if that sounds familiar, it should. 3.14 is pi. So these numbers should all come out to pi. Did I measure incorrectly? Probably. There's human error in measuring. But the ratio of the circumference of a circle to its diameter is the diameter times by pi, because we divided the circumference by the diameter to get pi. So for the circumference of a circle, the formula for circumference would be, so the formula would be the circumference equals diameter times pi. So now, diameter is one measurement of the circle. We have another measurement of the circle, which is called the radius. So when we have our circles, circumference is all the way around. Diameter cuts the circle in half, so it looks like a C for circumference. It looks like a D for diameter. So there's one other measurement, and that's called the radius. The radius is half of this diameter. So the radius goes from the middle to the outside. So it's like you're trying to cut a slice of pizza. With that, since I can have two radiuses for one diameter, there's also one other formula for the circumference of a circle. So circumference can also be 2 radius pi, because 2 radiuses is exactly the same as 1 diameter. So circumference equals pi d, or 2 pi r. For your assessment, you'll be able to use these formulas, and we'll have to match the formula to what it actually is. But since you can Google these answers, you can use notes on your test. It should be nice and simple to match them. Radius comes into play when we're talking about area, so don't forget this little tiny r and how to find it, which is getting half of the diameter.